This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Thanks everybody for downloading the latest edition of DocNJock. I am the Doc, John McAroo, driving home from an awesome Wednesday drive out to Cedar Point. It was great. We'll talk all about that. Can't wait to talk about the Detroit Lions. Adam got a chance to catch 3.5 quarters of the Detroit Lions. We'll see why the hell he got to his seats very late. We got to react to what we saw last Friday. And then, a lot of good things going on with the Detroit Tigers. We're going to talk that a little bit. And we're going to talk a lot about the Detroit Pistons. I mean, it's a lot of things going on in regards to what people think about Detroit, especially with people talking about B teams, supporting other teams outside of Detroit. We got a lot to get to. We're going to try to cram a lot in the next 30 to 40 minutes. Real fast, cuz, before I introduce you, I'm having a better week than Jack Morris is. That's for damn sure. What's up, cuz? How you doing?
I was wondering how you were going to work that in. I was sitting at my desk today, and I was like, how does he work this into the open? I know he's going to do it some way, somehow. I'm just not sure how he does it. Good on you. Good on you for working that in the way you did it.
We
I'm
have
impressed.
to. Quickly. It's 2021. Me personally, for those that don't know, Jack Morris, I came across it, made a real stupid comment about Shohei Ohtani. He spoke in an ethnic voice that offended people. Me personally, I'm not the kind of guy that just gets offended by shit. You know what I mean? I've made jokes. I've made comments that if you played it back to me would make me cringe. But I look at it like this. As a psychologist, you're taught to be judgment-free. You don't judge people. So when you start with the notion that I think everybody's fucked up, everybody's flawed, then you don't get into this high and mighty notion about people. So when Jack Morris does this, you go, oh, that's just not going to work because it's 2021. You got to know your audience, and you knew right away people would be offended, people would be highly, highly judgmental of where you're at. So that's why you don't go on TV and make jokes. You go on a podcast or you talk to your buddies behind closed doors. You don't do that out in public. Do I agree with it? Do I agree with him getting suspended? No. I think that what should happen is he gets talked to sternly, take a little bit of money out of his pocket, and you throw him back out on air because of the fact that's his job. Me personally, it led me to really want to veer quickly into this, is that the whole Bally Sports Detroit talent lineup is not good. I can't sit
it's
through
trash. It's all trash.
I can't sit through a baseball game and listen to that kind of broadcast where everything is spun in a direction of, oh my God, he got a hit. This ends a 1-for-11 streak. He's on his way back. Come on, Jack. We know he's on his way. It's like, come on. Detroit sports fans don't like spin. Hit us with the facts. Hit us with the truth. If Buck Farmer's throwing like garbage and we say in the fan base DFA him and he throws one strikeout, we don't need to hear you say, Matt Shepard, that he's turning the corner. That, oh man, his last batter that he faced, he looked much better. We all know. I've been screaming for Buck Farmer to get DFA'd for 5 years, and they did it twice already this year. Finally, I think that they've moved on from Buck Farmer. But for Jack Morris, in my opinion, I think that it was a comment that you have to know in the position that you're in. You're on television. It's comedy hour at all. It's not time for that in that position.
No, I agree with you with a lot of what you said. I don't know how Jack Morris thinks it's appropriate, or even how, like, even if you're trying to joke around, I don't get what you're trying to do. And look, it wasn't very funny. It wasn't, I think it was poor timing. I think he did deserve to get suspended. I think he should have been pulled off air. And I think it's one of those things where you pull him off air and you put him back on in a couple weeks. But it's one of those things where he can't, I don't know, as a company like Bally Sports, you're in a weird spot where you have to be able to, you have to reprimand him, because you have too many sponsors that are going to get pissed off. So, like, you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They had to pull him off. I don't know what he was thinking, though. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I don't know how he thought it was funny because I thought it was poor. I'll be honest with you. When I woke up this morning, because I didn't hear the comment. When I woke up this morning and I basically my phone blowing up with all of the articles and all of the messages about it. I was like, well, how bad is it? And then I heard it and I was like, I don't feel like it's that bad, but I don't feel like it's that good. I don't know, man. It's weird.
Now, do you judge me at all? And look, people that know me, that know who I am, that follow Detroit Sports Podcast, know that I don't take this seriously. I make a lot of sarcastic, passive-aggressive, inside jokes that are not meant to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. So when I heard it, I laughed. I chuckled. I just said, oh, my God, and then I move on. That's how I view the world. That's how I view life in general. But it's different because he has an open mic. He's working for a team, and he's working for a large company in Valley Sports. So it's different. Right. But that's not, we didn't say, we're not talking, we know that Jack got suspended indefinitely. I'm asking, was it wrong of me to chuckle? I laughed. Look, here's the thing. Me and you go barb for barb. You know what I'm saying? Like, we make some really, we say some really uncouth things, to each other, and we tell some pretty racy jokes with each other. And it's just because we've got that type of sense of humor. The thing is, we don't put that on the air in a baseball game. Right. Right. You can't do that on air. I wish you could, though. Would you? Is that where baseball needs to go? Because there were whispers that maybe Barstool would negotiate with MLB to do broadcast. That got squashed pretty quickly. But do broadcasts need to have like a little bit of comedic influence or what? Because everybody, like you said, we're talking about Valley Sports and their talent. What would make it more entertaining? Some funniness, or what would up the entertainment value? Because Jack Morris, Kirk Gibson, they're dry, old school, and they don't relate to, fans 25 to 50, so a lot of the fans are older that really respect them and like the way they do television. What would make it better, real quickly? Is it like a Pat McAfee who's high energy, or a fact-based gambling type guy? I'm trying to think what would be better, because for me, it would be pure comedy. Somebody that would tell inside jokes, really be funny, and have a natural charisma about him would make me watch a lot more. Yeah, I mean, I think both you and I are shocked and stunned by how good Pat McAfee is on WWE. I think we are both. I don't know. I really enjoyed when he got to do the one football game when it was Green Bay versus Detroit. I thought he brought something to that booth. I thought it was entertaining. He's a guy who, if you let him just kind of go, give him a little bit of a leash, and just kind of let him do his thing, he is extremely entertaining. I think that goes a long way. I think it's one of those things where you have to. I think with comedy is all based on timing, right? So I think he's one of those guys who has great timing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be racy, doesn't necessarily have to cross a line. It's just well-timed. He's a guy who has incredible timing, and I think he tells great jokes, and I think he's funny, and I think he adds to a broadcast. I think if you can get a guy like that, hell yeah, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. It doesn't always have to be so buttoned up and so stuffy. Exactly. And baseball is a sport that is extremely stuffy. Yeah, stuffy and pro-team all the time. Spin, spin, spin until you spin like a top when you're broadcasting for a professional sports team. All right, because you had a chance. I saw it. You were there. Even though you caught it late, we saw the Detroit Lions take to the field at Ford Field last Friday, and they matched up against the Buffalo Bills. And, of course, it wasn't, like, super entertaining. It was two teams that were basically, real quickly getting to their second and third stringers and getting out there and going through the motions and looking at different things. But there were a lot of talking points, and I think that when you really look at it, it was a game that gave you a little bit of a glimpse of how the Detroit Lions offense will look. And I think that if you followed along on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, I messaged you a couple times and said, are you still awake? Because they went and had, after the first drive, they went and had, I believe, an 18-play drive that did not result in a touchdown. And I looked at that drive and I said, oh my God, this is potentially how the Detroit Lions offense in 2021 is going to look. A lot of short passes, a lot of handoffs, a lot of, situations in which you're going to count on quick time routes and things like that. But you do have to have the caveat, guys. Remember, it's the preseason. It doesn't count. Coaches are trying to test out and evaluate players. And when you evaluate this game, anybody that you listen to or that you talk football about, you have to admit and you have to acknowledge that T.J. Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift were not there. Two huge pieces that are going to garner attention, get a lot of targets, and if healthy, will help this offense. So I looked at it, and my grade was a B-. I was impressed with David Blau, handling the offense there and getting some points. Now, the big concern that everybody's going to have, where were the touchdowns? You got to get in the end zone, which Dan Campbell said. So I looked at it and said, and of course, the sarcastic ass in myself said, of course, you guys all knew that when it was fourth down, I had no doubt that Jake Fromm from Georgia was going to complete it and things like that. And so I looked at it and I laughed. I said, hell, the Lions are in regular season form already, baby. Why were you late? How do you not get in the nice-ass seats that you had? How do you get to your seats late, bro?
I was stuck in traffic on 75. I spent 45 minutes trying to get off at Madison, which was a mistake. It was just traffic was brutal, man. Look, you have to remember, you had the Lions with their first preseason game. Yep. You had the Detroit Tigers with Miguel Cabrera coming back with a chance to hit 500. And I think you might have had something going on at the Fox that night. Detroit that night was bumping. That was the first time in forever that it was essentially full capacity downtown. On top of all that, I totally forgot because it has been a while since I've taken something like that in with all of that going on. So I did a bad job myself of planning on how to get down there and where I was going to park. I did a really piss poor job of essentially pre-planning so I wouldn't run into this situation. So a lot of that is on me. You got to remember, man, it's been how long? It's been
almost 18 months, right?
Longer than that because this was the first time I've gone downtown since before COVID. COVID shut everything down. Wow. And then before that, remember, I moved away for about a year. So it's been about 2 or 3 years since I've been down there and really had to experience that traffic flow and how everything kind of bottlenecks up. So that was on me, and I messed up. But when I did get there, I did catch the end of that 18-play drive that chewed up like 9 minutes. And I'm going to tell you some of the takeaways I had from watching the end of that. One, Jared Goff has no arm strength. None. We talked a little bit about this on Saturday before we did our wrestling show. And I was just floored at how weak his arm really is, especially when you compare it to the backups that come in and are able to kind of whip the ball around. Yeah. Like their passes have some pace and a little bit of mustard on it, whereas his do not. As far as the offense goes and what they're going to run, it is definitely going to be a lot of ground and pound possession. It's going to be a lot of underneath stuff. The one thing I would take out of it is I think that Jared Goff has found his favorite receiver in Terrell Williams. Yes. Looks like that was the guy that he was targeting a lot. Now maybe those were hot routes. Maybe that was the way the play was designed to go. But there was when they ended up trying to go for the actual touchdown pass, Terrell Williams was basically blanketed by the cornerback, and he's in the back of the end zone. And whether it's Jared Goff throwing to a spot or whether it's Jared Goff not leading him or whether it's Terrell Williams not being able to get enough separation, I'm not sure 100% what took place there. But what I can tell you is if this is what we're going to have to deal with for the rest of the season, it's going to be a very long season because there was a lot that went wrong with that first play. And look, it's first preseason game. It's basically the second series that Jared Goff is playing with live snaps and live rounds. I get it. I'm not going to crucify him for it. But what I'm telling you is some of the things that I took away from this first preseason game is this is going to be a really long season. On top of that, the depth on this team, this is something that B and I talked about on the practice squad. The depth on this team, I didn't realize that the depth was so low. Like the floor of this team is below where I originally thought it was. The second unit and the third unit that's going to get subbed in. And look, we both know football is a game of attrition and you need to stay healthy, but you don't ever stay healthy all season long. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have guys that get nicked up. You're going to have to sub some of those guys in. Those guys aren't very good.
Right.
The Vegas line of 5 wins for this team might be egregiously high.
Oh, see, here's the thing, and you make a lot of sense. But at the same time, the starters that are going to play a lot of reps, I think, are going to help this team compete. And I think what you're going to see is, I think you're going to see a team that's going to work really, really hard for their head coach, but the talent level is going to come up short in certain spots against teams that have just simply more talent. And it takes time. I don't think the Lions are lying to themselves. They believe that this is a retooling process. They had a nice, solid, respectable first draft. And yes, Jared Goff is going to be tasked with being professional. And what that means is you're not going to see this offense light it up in terms of scoring 21 or more points consistently. You're going to see a quarterback that's going to turn around, hand the ball off to Jamal Williams and to DeAndre Swift, and to get the ball to them in the run game, screen game, and then you're going to look to Khalif Raymond, Terrell Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then if there's opportunities, if other teams make mistakes because they're not perfect, if there's opportunities to take shots deep, you're going to take them. But is this going to be some razzle-dazzle, really high-end offense? No. It's going to be measured, controlled, and ultra safe. And that's just the way it's going to be for the 2021 season. And if you think that Jared Goff is just going to be this whirtle beater, he's not. You saw it from that first preseason game. It's going to be safe. And then I think that's what it should be because his arm is not there. But I think he can make certain throws if he can become kind of like in baseball when you say, okay, when you lose your fastball, you got to learn the art of pitching. I think at 26 going into 27 now, he's got to learn the art of being a quarterback, which is find the open guy, check it down real fast, and don't turn the ball over. Don't fumble the ball if there's pressure. Throw the ball away, do the little stuff right. And this team, I think, will compete just based on the fact that the talent is there at the highest end levels. Yeah, depth at cornerback. You got to pray for no injuries. But, yeah, absolutely. Anywhere between 5 and 7 wins is what's been projected. And I think that's fair to say. The one thing that's not fair is to criticize Dan Campbell for the way in which he handled the clock late in the game.
That's such BS. Like, it's a preseason
it's really
game.
Crazy. And he said it. It's like it would make sense. He would be really stupid to throw the ball up late and, with the team that he's got. He wanted to see David Blau throw the football so that he could get it on tape to say, okay, can this guy do this at this position? I do believe that Dan Campbell knows the basics. Mm-hmm. His presentation of the X's and O's sounds legit. He sounds like he has the understanding. It's just going to be recognizing when to cut the talent and who he decides to keep. And one key decision for me, the one thing I want to jump ahead to is I have to scratch my. He made the biggest blunder and left the guy wide open in terms of a running back. I asked Dan Campbell at Allen Park what happened on that play, and he was open and honest. He said, hey, it's a blown coverage. I made a mistake, and it was a situation in which he messed it up royally. So Jelani Tavai, just as nice of a guy as he is, isn't capable of running this offense the manner in which it needs to be run. So in my mind, who he keeps is going to be really, really important. And my final takeaway was I thought it was a competitive game, and you got a chance to see a lot of different people. And it's a good sign now going forward when the Lions take the field down the road against Pittsburgh, just to kind of see how the likes of an Ali McNeil, how Bobby Price, Kevin Strong, some of the second and third stringers that people are talking about, how they're going to perform, how many reps they get. And then the big thing, too, that everyone noticed was, damn, he worked Julian Okwara pretty hard, damn near 75 to 80% of the defensive snaps. He was out there. Unfortunately, got exposed a little bit for his run blocking situation in terms of his ability to address and stop the run. That was not really good for Okwara or the second unit in terms of the defensive line. That was a little bit rough. His rush situation in terms of his recognition and stopping the run, that was not good. But we'll see if that can progress as well. So a lot of things to pay attention to. But before we move ahead a little bit to the shocking news that took place with the drama and the antics, what did you make of that when you caught a chance to see the highlight of Rousseau blowing up Penei Sewell and Haloti Vaitai kind of collapsing as well, along with Sewell, and that got Goff sacked in the first series of the game? It really caught a lot of people's attention. But my observation, because I had the binoculars on Sewell, yeah, that play he got wrecked, but he came back and was stout and allowed Jared Goff to have throwing lanes, and he stood people up. He's a big boy. He's going to make mistakes. That first one was rough because I was definitely a guy that loved Rousseau and loved his pass rush abilities. But in terms of Penei Sewell, I think that I can agree with Dan Campbell when he says, hey, give the guy a break. He's a rookie. I expect him to get beat every now and then, but he's got to learn. He's got to come back from it, and he's going to, I think, dude's only 20 years old. I think he's going to be a monster in 2-3 years. Bro, at 22, he'll be a third-year NFL member. I think he's going to be dominant. He's got the look. It's a big boy for 20 years old. 20 years old!
I think the thing I took out of it was the way he, like you said, was able to rebound and come back and just start stuffing guys at the line. He was mauling dudes. And the one thing I watched for, because I watched for Penei Sewell as well, when they were on offense, I was looking at when it was a run play, how far did he move guys? He was moving dudes 3, 4, 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like, you're getting some push up front from this guy. He is going to be a beast. And then when it was pass pro, I was watching him, and he was just standing dudes up. Like, nobody was getting by him. Yes, he had a mistake, but he bounced back, and I think he bounced back and atoned for that mistake. He looked really, really good. He is impressive, for sure. I think you're right. By the time year 2, year 3 rolls around, this dude's going to be an absolute savage animal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great to see. So the shocking news, too, is, and I guess we'll talk about Don Muhlbach here in a second, but in terms of cornerback Alex Brown, getting drunk, driving the wrong way on I-75 with a teammate, tight end that also got cut, do you look at that as a sign of being undisciplined? Because for Dan Campbell, he came out and acknowledged it. He's open. He's forthright. He's not a guy that's going to hide his feelings. He's like, look, we have to acknowledge it. But in training camp, the league mandated that you can't put a curfew on these players or you can't force them to stay in a hotel. So this was a situation that nothing the Lions could have done because Sunday was an off day for the players. This is just a situation in which a player made a buffoonish decision, gets drunk, and, of course, you and I noticed the headlines. And after, Alex Brown allegedly had a blood alcohol level of over 0.2, when you see that he thought that he was in Atlanta coming back from a strip club, dude had no idea what state he was in. He thought he was like, when the police rolled up to him allegedly, he's like, man, I had a great night. We had a good time, baby. I'm coming back from Atlanta. And they're like, no. And unfortunately, not to make light of it, but it's unfortunate that a player would make a choice like that when you're making over 6 figures and you're battling for a roster spot. That's a decision you make? I don't know, but it's tough because part of me goes, Dan Campbell is kind of a player guy. Is this going to be a situation where players take advantage? Because there's that fine line, always. Nothing can be perfect. You and I are loving the headlines, loving the sound bites, but at the same time, a small byproduct, when you have kind of hey, let's treat these players with kid gloves, sometimes they take advantage, and I think Alex Brown, he burned Dan Campbell, and he's got to learn from it because it's a bad mistake. He gets caught. He faces a consequence, but I think at the same time, Dan Campbell's minor adjustment's got to be tighten the reins just 0.01% so that you don't think you don't have players that believe that they can just walk all over you and do whatever they want.
See, I don't look at it like that at all. You can't put this on Dan Campbell. This is on the player. The player made a bonehead decision. Like, I I love the fact that the NFL doesn't force them to put a curfew on this. You know what that does? It allows you to get the bad seeds out early.
Yep.
Obviously, this guy has zero self-control. This guy does not make good decisions. So why do you want him on your roster? He's going to burn you later on. So let him burn you now, or try to burn you, and instead he hurts himself. You cut him, he basically doesn't get paid, and you're not going to make it to another team. So good job on you for screwing everything up. Like you said, at a certain point you have to be accountable for yourself, not on Dan Campbell. This is on those players that chose to do these bonehead things and make bonehead decisions. So, like, I love the fact that it's happening now, and it's not happening in the season, you know?
Okay. And then the big thing that shocked everybody, you're seeing online on Tuesday, oh, happy birthday, Don Muhlbach, 40 years, he's got a rocking chair. And you're like, oh, man, this guy's going to go into his, 17th, 18th year in the league. He's going to have an opportunity to go out on his own. He's going to be, a well-respected guy. You're just long snapping. I mean, you just basically, hey, when the time comes to punt, field goals, things like that, go out there, handle your business. But then you start hearing whispers and rumors that, wait a minute, the cuts were made, but there might be one more. And when I first heard the one about Don Muhlbach, I said, no way they could be that cold to cut him on his birthday. No way. That would be cold. That would be sick. Dan Campbell gets up there at his presser on a Tuesday scrimmage, a late practice, and first thing he says is, we got an announcement to make, and we are releasing Don Muhlbach. It's time. It is what it is. He felt bad about it, but we gave him the time and the leeway, and I said, oh, hell no. I know you need an outside linebacker from the Patriots. I know you need it, but, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you could look at it two ways. You could have cut him Sunday. You could have cut him Monday. You could have cut him on this Thursday. After he listens to Doc and Jock, you go, okay, Don, we know you got bad taste in podcasts. Come on in, we got to let you go. To announce it on the day of his birthday, and I know logistics and paperwork and nonsense like that, so you can get waiver claims and sign people and all that. But if you really wanted to respect this guy, it's a retooling year where everybody thinks you're going to win 5 games. Let him sit there and make the roster. Who cares? Is Don Muhlbach being on the roster going to kill you that much? To cut him on his birthday, F that, dude. I think that was lowbrow. Vito did a great column where he highlighted the fact that we're really not talking about the value of the player. It's just the timing. On his birthday, give me a break, bro. On his birthday? Bye. See you later. Thanks for the time.
Look, man, NFL holds no prisoners. I don't have a problem with it. I actually think that this shows that Dan Campbell can make the tough decisions. You have to remember, Dan Campbell played with Don Muhlbach when he played here. They were teammates. So he's able to make those hard. I think that was one of the questions that we all had. Will Dan Campbell be able to make these hard decisions? Will he be able to pull the trigger? Because he is such a player-friendly coach. He is such a guy's guy, a dude in the locker room. Like, he is the locker room. And yet he had to go out there and cut a dude that was once his teammate. He had to cut a guy who has essentially been a staple of this team for damn near 2 decades. Had to cut a guy who is a Pro Bowl player at his position. Yeah. Had to say bye.
Okay, but
on his birthday.
On his birthday, the day of his birthday. I'm saying you don't do it on Monday. Just do it on Monday.
No.
What, you're saying that you woke up on Monday night, you leave the facility, you're making the call, and then you drive up. You know that people are taking pictures. Half of his locker room were sending jokes and things like that. You then call him in that day? Okay, you tell him that day. Fine. You don't make it so that we find out on Wednesday. You have it announced where you say it's his birthday, and it's 24 hours. Would it have, okay, fine. You want to cut him? You come to this decision. You're having these meetings all the time. Do it last week or do it next week. I mean, you have 3 rounds of cuts. What would it have hurt to keep Don Muhlbach at, the situation? You mean, okay, for example, okay, I'll say this. Would it have been really awful if the Lions just said, oh my God, let's just give Randy Bullock the job, cut Zane Gonzalez because he sucks, and let's keep Don around for another week. Okay, we're going to cut him next week after the Pittsburgh game. boom, you start giving them the hint that, hey, Don, it's not looking like, it's going to happen, but, handle your business. And then you do it next week. Did you really? That you still could have cut the kicker, get the outside linebacker from the Patriots. I'm just saying that 24-hour window is so disrespectful, I think is gross, but it's par for the course for this organization. They make it a habit, and it is a tough decision.
Or maybe they were doing what's best for the player by releasing him early so he could possibly sign on with another team. And if he wants to go another year for his career, he gets a chance to. I think you have some Don Muhlbach glasses on right here, and you are suckling at the teat of the former long snapper.
But I mean, you got to look at now. If this was the Patriots and they're coming off of a playoff run and they're looking for a young cat, it's fine. This is the Lions with, like you said, 5-win expectations. That's retooling. You look at it and you say one guy gets that on the whole roster. One, it's Don Muhlbach, and you cut him on his birthday. It's just brutal. It is a business, but I think one guy might have deserved a little bit more than that just to give him a 24-hour window. It would have been Don Muhlbach. They didn't do it, and it's crazy, but it's tough. It's ballsy. It's like a minor demerit to me, but it's just crazy that the timing of it is the day of his 40th birthday. As he's celebrating, you give the man the ultimate news that's going to sadden him and put his football mortality. Remember, Dan Campbell said he was sully. His energy was low. He wasn't happy. And Muhlbach was sad. He had to call his family and get processed and all that stuff. It's never an easy thing, and that's part of the job that I think a coach, really has to develop thick skin with, because I would be heartbroken when I tell 40 people every year that their dream is dashed, and then in the season, it's next man up, and that's the way it is. It's a brutal business, and players kind of realize that. It's a numbers game. It's a business, and yes, they preach family, but it's just for civility's sake, meaning to get along. But bottom line, if someone comes along that's better, a team will jump on your ass and cut you just that quick. But Don Muhlbach, I thought, deserved better. So we'll agree to disagree, but you make a lot of valid points like you always do. And that's why people should always follow you on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ for honest, rational takes in the world of Detroit sports. Now, you know somebody who had the worst take in the history of sports, and that's Jalen Green. I can't believe that the first time you do a national sit-down interview after you get drafted, you're the number 2 pick, which is fine. You come out and you say that you were happy that you weren't picked by the Detroit Pistons because there's nothing to do in Detroit. Bro, are you kidding me? Did you not look? Did you not just even hit the Google button and look at downtown and the event that you were referencing, cause that was also going on downtown was Dave Chappelle was at the Fillmore filming a Netflix special. The downtown area is amazing. There's things to do. There's places to go. Now, if you're a me first kind of guy and you want to find some kind of salty entertainment, we got that too. It's called 8 Mile. 8 Mile Ballet, 8 Mile Road, whatever you want to call it. We got that. We got downtown. We got everything.
We're frequent visitors to the ballet on 8 Mile.
Yeah, exactly. There's things
I've run into you a time or two there.
It wasn't me, bro. Clone. Not me. Not me at all, baby. And so Jalen makes himself look like he's got major sour grapes. But I like it. I think, in my mind, the way I view it is, you should be pissed off that you're number 2. But it shouldn't be used to spurn the team that didn't choose you. It should be used that whenever it comes down to you playing number 1 and you're playing Cade Cunningham and the Pistons, you need to go out there and dunk on them and use it as motivation. But to come out in a paper, in an online publication, I believe Yahoo Sports, to come out and to dog the Pistons and to say Detroit wasn't a place that you wanted to go, it rings hollow. It comes off as shallow.
Yeah, and for sure.
We don't
Especially
need,
when he was politicking to be here. He was politicking to be the number 1 pick. Come on.
People don't need to be shitting on Detroit anymore. We've been, downtrodden and made fun of for years. For Jalen Green to do that, I hope Cade Cunningham, I hope when that game happens, Pistons-Houston for the first time at LCA, I hope the Pistons crowd goes apeshit and they make his life on the basketball court a living nightmare. I think they will. But I was so offended and so, not offended, I was so, irritated and annoyed that a player that wasn't taken number one would come out and say that. How did you react?
It just, to me, it felt like it was small-minded. It felt like sour grapes. It felt like it was a guy who really needs to create a scenario and create a situation to help to motivate himself. And if that's the case, fine. Do what you have to do to motivate yourself. The guy's a freak athlete. He's going to be a star. But for you to come out and basically take a shit on a city, I was like, come on, man. You can't have it both ways. You can't come out and basically beg to be the number one pick and hope to get picked by Detroit, and while you're doing your workout, basically dog out everybody that you're going up against and shoot the lights out, hoping to get to that level to be number one, to only then get picked number two by Houston and then come back and be like, yeah, I didn't want to go to Detroit anyways. Boo. Oh, okay, cool, bro. Like, you can't have it both ways, man. And now, at this point, there's no need for it.
In early Summer League, and I know not a lot of people should read into Summer League stuff, you've had a chance to see Jalen's game, and you've had a chance to see Cade Cunningham. And I think you and I kind of, in our debates looking at kind of the early matchup, we kind of say that, Jalen's more of the sizzle, and Cade Cunningham's more of the team guy, more of the hard-nosed, bring your lunch pail to work kind of guy, really corporate. And like I've said in previous editions of Doc and Jock, which you can find anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, I've said that I kind of am in the mood now for more sizzle, a little bit more pizzazz nowadays. But with the right mix, I like Cade's talent, dude. He dropped 7 threes on the Lakers, and that was sick. And I grade his Summer League as a B+. I thought it was solid. I felt like the Pistons could have highlighted him more, let him carry the ball a little bit more and run the show instead of mixing in more guys. But, hey, he's going to be integrated. I was impressed. I think he fits, but I don't know if he's going to be that showman. I don't know if he's going to be a ticket guy like a Magic Johnson or a guy that you go, oh. But I think in the right mix, right now too, though, cuz the Pistons have, with Jeremy Grant, Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, I think there's the makings of a core that works hard, that want to get better, and they're young and affordable. And I think that with the up-and-coming and the emergence of Cade Cunningham, we don't have to worry about Jalen Green and his me-first attitude and his modern way of exposing himself in the media. And look at me, I'm doing a feature, and I'm going to make headlines the first opportunity I can get. So I'm happy at this point in time with how the Pistons are handling it, and I hope that Cade Cunningham can recruit and be the kind of guy that wants to build the best basketball team possible. So I think the future is bright for the Pistons, but Jalen Green doing that, I had a lot of respect for him. Part of it has been lost with that kind of comment, when you could just take the high road and continue to praise the Pistons, and then when the time comes, you can highlight your skills on the court. But it was disappointing to hear that, at the very least.
Yeah, it's
disappointing.
I think it's a little bit frustrating as well. And here's the thing. I agree with you. I think Jalen Green is a ton of sizzle. The guy is, like I said, a freak athlete, can jump out of a gym. He's a human highlight reel. I think what you get with Cade Cunningham is a little bit different, though. I think he's more your floor general. He's more your glue guy. He's the guy who is, I think this is a pretty good comparison, and I'm going to use another sport. So during the 80s, you had Wayne Gretzky, you had Mario Lemieux, and you had Steve Yzerman. I think Cade Cunningham is more Steve Yzerman than he is a guy like Mario Lemieux or Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah,
when Wayne Gretzky played for the Oilers, he was a ton of flash, he was a ton of sizzle, played hardly any defense. Mario Lemieux, really similar. He just human highlight reel with some of his goals. Steve Yzerman, early in his career, a lot of that. But towards the end of his career, he was always the guy who kept that locker room together, and he was the guy who was able to conform his game to fit his team. Whatever they needed him to do, he was able to do. I think that's going to be Cade Cunningham, and I think that's why everybody's going to love him.
And I think, too, though, that's why. Have we had a lot of prima donnas here in Detroit? I don't think so. We haven't had that kind of me-first guy. I think the closest prima donna that the Detroit sports world has is me. I'm the guy that's like, hey, look at me. I said this. Look at me. Acknowledge me. I don't think the Detroit sports world in the last couple, Rodman, have they had a me-first, selfish prima donna that was like awesome? We kind of tend to go for the the lunch pail guy. Look at Matthew Stafford, number 1 pick. He was ultra corporate. Some of the high draft picks lately have been really professional, not me first kind of guy. Penei Sewell, offensive lineman. He ain't going to make headlines with one of the things he's going to do. Obviously, after getting drafted, he was a little bit, but now he's kind of got into the media flow, been a lot more professional. We haven't really had, outside of Rashid, Rodman, we really haven't had that me first guy. Am I missing anybody or forgetting at this late hour somebody that was like a me first prima donna that you said, oh, maybe this guy's all about me and all about marketing over substance? I think Detroit sports tends to lend itself to selecting guys that are more corporate and nose to the grindstone. I think Cade fits that, but have we had me first prima donnas lately? I don't think so.
Nothing lately. The only one who kind of pops in my mind might have been Sergei Fedorov, and that was more towards the end when he wanted out.
Right.
But I can't really think of anybody. It's a very blue collar town, and we love our blue collar athletes. Grab your lunch pail, go to work, punch in, do your job.
Right. That's right. Well, to an extent, I'm kind of like saying maybe in the world of Detroit sports we need that kind of Michael Jordan-esque supreme talent that also is like, hey, I'm about it, baby, and I'm going to make some headlines. I'm going to do some things. I'm going to have some personality. And we'll see, because this is a prime example, Jalen versus Cade, as to maybe what will sell better or what will happen. So we'll see. I'm curious, because obviously everybody likes substance over style. But every now and again, style's entertaining. Style brings, tickets to it puts asses in seats. And, you and I coming from wrestling fans and being guys that like entertainment and get bored quickly, maybe a little bit of spice, somebody that brings a little bit of pizzazz can come into the world of Detroit sports and make it poppin'. We'll see, because right now, Cade's drawing on the reputation of being number 1 and being embraced by a hungry fan base. So we'll see. We'll see if I end up being wrong about substance over style and just being more into the flashy guys and the sexy swagger as opposed to what actually happens out there on the playing field or the court. Oh, cuz that 40 minutes just flew by. I love it. Oh, man, even after a long day, I love breaking down sports, talking shit with you, and enjoying a nice podcast recording. Follow Adam on Twitter, again, like we said earlier. On Twitter, at AdamRStroz. Make sure you download his Practice Squad podcast every Friday on the network. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, you can find Detroit Sports Podcast. Broadcasting since 2013, making noise, taking names, getting out there in the world of Detroit sports. And we don't tease people like Miguel Cabrera. We don't tell people, hey, come on out 6 nights and potentially we'll give you something of a reward. No. Every single day, an opportunity to fire up your phone, hit the podcast app that you love, and find a podcast from Detroit Sports Podcast. And we promise you'll be entertained, you'll laugh, and maybe even cringe just a little bit. Cuz, thank you so much. I can't wait, literally can't wait till our next broadcast when we break down all the shit that happens in Detroit sports and to break down the Lions in preseason game number 2. And something crazy is going to happen with Dan Campbell. You and I love, you're my go-to guy talking sports. I can't wait to do it next week, cuz.
I look forward to it, brother. Should be a good one.